Happy Tuesday evening, one and all. This is episode 30 of the Confessions of a Not So Dangerous Mind podcast. I want to thank you all once again. If you're joining me for the video version of the podcast on YouTube and you haven't already and you enjoy the content, please click like and smash that subscriber bell. Or if you're joining me for the audio version of the podcast on Spotify, iTunes, or the other channels, please, if and only if you like the content, click like and subscribe. So once again, we're going to switch gears, kind of move back and forth with a little 5-speed transmission here. And I'm going to talk about fitness mindset. I mentioned and did a podcast on my own fitness journey, how I went from kind of roly-poly, chubby, depressed teen to fitter, slightly less depressed teen, and into my 20s, 30s, and 40s, and it was an evolution in every way. But when I say fitness mindset in particular, because I do get asked this question a lot, how is it that my motivation never seems to lag? And that doesn't mean that I wake up ready to rip shit up every single day. But if my energy levels are reasonable, I always am ready to work out. I never lack motivation. Sometimes you're not feeling well, that's different. But the question is, how and why? And did I just wake up one day at a certain point in time and just gung-ho, and then every day was gung-ho? To kind of unpack all that, I have to think of where I started and where I currently am. Started working out at 19 with weights at Bev's Gym, and worked out at Bev's Gym until 2020, and now more or less work out at home in the clubhouse gym. But as far as a mindset and a focus, it's a bit, ethereal. It's kind of hard to put your finger on. But the way that I describe it, and I reference the movie The Matrix, people say, because for many years, I woke up at 3:25 a.m. to get to Bev's Gym at 4. From the middle of 2006 right up until COVID, my standard Monday to Friday was wake up at 3:25 to get there at 4. And then Saturdays and Sundays, I would take it easy and only wake up at 5:15 to get there at 6. And people would say, well, how do you do that? How do you do that? Well, first off, I would always kind of poo-poo it and say, look, I don't have a conventional 9 to 5 and or I'm not commuting to the city from the gym. I have a much easier road here. I simply have to get myself out of bed, get here, and then when it's over, get home. And I often can take a nap during the day. So I'm not surviving on 3.5 or 4 hours of sleep a night being the only kind of rest I'm getting. So I would always point that out. But as to the question as to why, number one, why did you start going so early in the first place? And what do you feel like when you wake up? Do you ever wake up saying, I don't want to go? And do you ever listen to that voice? The first part, why did I start at a certain point when I was 32 years old and had already been working out for 13 plus years at Bev's? Why did I make a decision to start waking up at 3:25 in the morning? What was the inciting incident? Well, actually, there was an inciting incident, but not what you expect. There was an older gentleman at Bev's Gym that who I used to see for cardio, and he was a guy I thought was a friend. And he told a mutual acquaintance that I was the most depressing, miserable individual that he had ever met in his life. Well, I didn't take that so well. I wanted to stuff that guy into a garbage can, quite frankly, because I was a little bit pessimistic and sarcastic and all of that, certainly more so than I am now, but the most depressive, miserable person you've ever met, you're 70 years old and retired and you've never met anybody like me before? F to the U. So I started thinking, well, maybe I should go at a different time. I don't really want any unpleasantness here. I'm not going to this gym to have problems with people or to have people out of nowhere apparently having big issues with me. So my dad, oddly enough, so many stories end up coming back to my dear old dad, Alan Philip Cohen. He was in the military. Dad was in the Army. He served 1964 to 1966. He was fortunate in that he was very intelligent and was already working at the CPA level of accounting. And his greatest value to the military was being an accountant and balancing the books at Fort Jackson. But he told me a lot of stories of even that experience and how sometimes it could be a little harrowing and not so easy, having to wake up so early every morning. And so he would often tell this story in mixed company. People always got a kick out of it. And honestly, the Army shouldn't be used as a conversation piece. It's serious business. But most people knew that my dad didn't see active combat. So it's a little bit different. Dad would tell a story of drill instructor waking everyone up at 4:30 in the morning at Fort Jackson in that era, circa 1964-65. And I just thought that was ghastly. 4:30 in the morning. That's horrendous. I mean, I thought waking up at 7 to go to school was, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. You're talking about 4:30? Then I thought about it. And I was old enough when I really began to think of this story that he had told in different settings, sometimes embellishing, and sometimes I could tell this is exactly what happened. I said, Dad, the drill instructor whose job it was to wake you up, did he wake you up in his PJs? Started laughing. He said, no, and he didn't. I said, well, how was he dressed? He was dressed for the day. He was shaved, showered, in uniform, boots to a high shine every day. I said, okay, all right. So it was rough for you to wake up at 4:30. What time did he get up? He probably got up about 3 in order to do everything that I just said and make sure those shoes were to a high shine. I said, well, Dad, it's more difficult to wake up at 3 a.m. than 4:30, isn't it? Dad said, yeah. The difference is he doesn't have to do it. He's choosing to wake up at 3 a.m. Nobody's telling him what to do. This is something that he decided he's going to do because he could wake up later and get us up at 5, heaven forbid 5:30, but that's not what he wants to do. As I got older, that story resonated with me more and more. And the answer to the first question I get asked, why did I start waking up so early? Is because it was an attempt to impose order on an existence that could be disordered if I did not have any reason to wake up at a specific time. I chose to see what level of discipline I had developed up to this point in my life, in my early 30s. Could I do it? Could I thrive under those circumstances? I was choosing to do it. I wasn't going to work. I wasn't forced to wake up at 3:25 because I had to then catch a train to the city to get there at 6:30 a.m. or 7 or whatever time. I was making a decision to change my life, even though I was already going to the gym at 8, but it was a lazy way. And I decided I wasn't going to be that anymore. 3:25, it just became a thing. And I always told people the same thing. How do you do it? You don't have a 9 to 5. You should sleep late. I tried that. Wasn't happy with it. Wasn't happy with myself. I needed to impose a little bit of discipline upon myself. And that's what I've done. Now, as far as the second question, it ties into the first one. the discipline that comes with waking up at that time. And in most cases, I was starting to wake up before the alarm went off. But the other question is, how are you so motivated? Don't you ever wake up saying, I don't want to go? Or doesn't it ever lag? And the Matrix reference, which I teased, it's a famous scene in the first one. Is it the first one? I'm not sure if it's the first one or the second one. I feel like Neo and the Oracle have a similar conversation. But it's the idea of you're not here to make a choice. You're here because you've already made the choice. So when people would say, how do you wake up at that time? Get up and get to the gym. Aren't you tired? Yeah, I'm fucking exhausted. But I'm always tired. When I used to sleep till 7, I was exhausted. It's just a little bit earlier, that's all. But I wasn't. When I woke up, I did not then choose to go to the gym. It was understood that that's what I was doing. Now, I don't know exactly at what point my brain clicked over to me no longer making a decision, but me simply following marching orders that were somehow deep into my wiring. But that's what happened. I started waking up at 3:25 a.m., focused as fuck, no matter how tired I was. And there was some crazy, I remember getting home from a trip across the country. Got home at about 2:30 in the morning. There had been a screw up with the flight coming from the West Coast. I hadn't really slept much, maybe slept 3 hours in the last couple of days. Got home, set my alarm for 3:25 at max volume. I had the phone cranked up to the loudest song on my music player. I slept, I think the exact tally was 32 minutes, and I got up looking like death, feeling worse, and I just had the attitude of, I don't give a fuck. This is what I'm doing today. This is what I'm doing. So it's about winning the day, if I had to describe it, because you're not going to feel great. And as I say, me sleeping 3 hours over a couple of days, cross-country flight, I needed sleep, but I just didn't give a shit because I'd be able to sleep later in the day because I had that kind of life where I could. So anything other than that, anything other than me saying, this is what I'm going to do, in my mind, it's just being lazy. And as a younger person, Jeremy, why are you so goddamn lazy? A lot of people, a lot of older relatives, they used to say stuff like that. No more. No more. And I feel like all of that played a role in this sort of ceaseless motivation. But that's only the, how do you get out of bed when you haven't had enough sleep, when you're exhausted? But how do you get to a point where you're not choosing to go to the gym, even if it's not the gym? See, COVID was horrible, regardless of which angle you're approaching it from. Like there's no positive to it. There are certain people who, and a friend of mine from Bev's put together a terrific home gym, and we were in constant communication early in COVID. And he got himself a treadmill. He got himself adjustable dumbbells where he paid through the nose and didn't care. He got benches. He probably spent $25,000, $30,000. And then we kind of lost touch. In the meantime, I spent like $300 at the initial burst. One piece for cardio, small scale adjustable dumbbells, and not as nearly as fancy a bench as what he had. And he bought like a $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 treadmill. And then when the gyms reopened and he called, he said, Jared, I'm back at Bev's. Are you going? Yeah, I don't think so. I'm just having too much fun working out at home. And he said something which I wasn't expecting. He said, I really haven't worked out since the last time we spoke. The last time we had spoken was the first week in April of that year. This was now ahead to July, August. Now, that was something that I could not understand. He had the equipment there. This was somebody that used to get up and drive 20 minutes to get to Bev's. But somehow, in his mind, he had to be at the gym. As soon as I got a home gym, even the lowest end, what I would refer to as the first iteration, it was a $100 elliptical, which still works, by the way. It's in the basement of this house with the rest of my stuff. A $100 elliptical, Sunny Health and Fitness Airwalker elliptical. You want to talk about a good buy? $100 on March 14th, 2020, and it still works exactly as if it came out of the box. Amazing. But just that, adjustable dumbbells, it only went up to 25 and a bench. But even with everything and so many moments of, being nervous perhaps about family members or hearing of people that we're friends with who were sick or having to quarantine because, early COVID, I had to quarantine right away. I just kept getting slammed. I said, I was just with this guy. We were in the car, whatever. The motivation to work out was exactly the same and stayed exactly the same as I continued to kind of unfold, unravel, unpack, and progress and start spending more money on the home gym as time went on. And I said, I don't really think I'm going to be going back to any commercial gym, at least not full time. There isn't any reason to. Yes, I love the atmosphere and I miss the people at Bev's. How could I not? So many lifelong friendships. But as I told them, I'm not that difficult to find. You know where to find me. And I don't mean this, just in general. I'm all over social media. I'm just as friendly as I've always been. I just didn't want to go back for whatever reason. Didn't have to have a specific, I just didn't go back. And I can't ever imagine being a full-time member at a commercial gym again. The motivation level is terrific and having people to push you. But for somebody who was considered lazy, not a self-starter, at least when it comes to this, I don't need anybody. When I make a decision, and some of you may have seen, if you follow my other social medias, where I do these sets of crazy amounts of reps with reasonable weight, sometimes just very lightweight, but other times moderate weight. And I don't need anybody yelling in my ear to get it done. There is just something there. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's something that motivates me, even when I feel like shit. Now, I was somebody back in the day who, and this isn't advisable, I used to work out even when I was sick. Didn't give a shit if I got other people sick. That is not really cool, and I understand that. I knew it then, I just didn't care. I was so antisocial. Another advantage of working out at home. I remember a number of years ago, before he really kind of jumped the shark with the New York Yankees, Aroldis Chapman, of course, made a shit ton of money. But he had a home gym, and there was a time where he wasn't really feeling that great, and he was just working out at home. And I said, yeah, that's how you do it. You don't expose anyone else to your cold or your fever or your, heaven forbid, stomach flu or COVID or whatever it might be. You do your own thing. And I do my own thing. And I'm constantly challenging myself. And as far as the need, it's just something that I want to do. Just like I decided I was going to start waking up so early. It's not the same mindset, but it's the same kind of thought process where you're deliberately making yourself uncomfortable, short-term pain, long-term gain, or even medium-term gain. And you just give yourself over to it. And that's the challenge. And I can't do the heavy stuff anymore. Oh, I was a guy who was just banging away at 450, 500 pounds on deadlifts back in the day at Bev's in my prime without any straps. 525, 535, no straps, just banging that up. Dead stop, boom. No accoutrements, just a belt. Can't do that anymore. Cannot. The strength is there, not for 525, but the strength would still be there to lift significant weights. The risk of injury, as I approach the big 5-0, not worth it. But you figure out how to challenge yourself in other ways, because the reality is we're all going to get hurt, even if we're young. There were times when I was much younger where I would have had to alter my workouts because I was injured. you still have to be able to motivate yourself. And if you use fear as a motivator, so what? That's fine. Whatever it takes, you do whatever it takes to get those workouts in. And I found there are times where I didn't want to do it, where I rolled out of bed. Even this morning, I slept like crap last night. Now, I don't have to wake up, quote unquote, at 3:25. But my MO, the way that I do it here, in the new house and the development and everything, is that I do cardio at the clubhouse because they have a $10,000 elliptical there. It's a great machine. And there's usually no one in there. So I have the gym to myself at least 3/4 of the time that I'm there. Then I come back here. Sometimes I do, like I posted a video, I did arm workout. But that real heavy stuff, legs and back, I do here in what I call the dungeon in the basement. And I woke up this morning, I just wanted to stay in bed. I'm not immune, if you'll pardon the pun, from having those thoughts. But I know that I'm going to get up and not throw away the workout for the day. I'm going to do it. I am going to win the day because we're not guaranteed tomorrow, right? Cliche, but true. I wouldn't be able to live with myself today if I punted an opportunity for growth. And I don't mean muscle-wise. That's whatever. I mean an opportunity to show a little gumption, to do something when your body is tired and is kind of trying to trick you into taking a day off that you didn't plan on. See, that's totally different. If you're doing a periodization type routine or a phase training type thing where you have planned off days, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like today is leg day for me. Well, I think that I'm going to put it off to tomorrow. Don't do that. Unless you have a real reason for, don't do that. You don't want to get in the habit of not treating the workout as a critical part of your day, because it is. The workout is a critical part of every day for me. As one of my old friends who I adore, Peter Schreiber, the man who would be Fred Wilpon, he always said this: every day is a good day for a workout. Even off days, you can have a little active rest, maybe play a little sports, even something stupid like play a little ping pong. It doesn't matter. But the mindset. You're going to have workouts that suck. You're not going to be able to fire properly. You're not going to be able to warm up properly. It's life. As long as you know you gave it your best effort, that's it. Because I'm not Superman. I'm not a superstar. And there are times where even someone like me, where I decide I'm going to get 100 reps with this, I'm going to do deadlifts, 165 pounds for 100 reps. There are times where I will start recording a video and realize 25 reps in, I'm fucked. There's no way I'm doing this. What the hell was I thinking? That happens. I tried. I wasn't able to do it on that day. So you do something else. So you reduce the weight and get 100 reps with it. Whatever it is, you figure it out. You figure it out on the fly. Just the only mindset that I can give you is to focus on the day. How are you going to feel later if you give your best effort versus if you punt? I think that's real. That is a very important concept. And that is something that I didn't arrive at immediately. It just sort of happened over time. Just as I went from lazy to super motivated, crazily motivated. Boy, Jeremy does so much cardio. How does he do 100 reps? He took 135 pounds and he did 200 reps. Actually, this is something I did a number of years ago. 135 pound dumbbells, I did 200 reps. Now that's, again, not advisable. But I just decided I was going to do it and I did it. And originally I'm like, well, I'm just going to get 100. But 100 was easy. Well, maybe I'll just get the number of reps of the weight. It was still easy. I was still blasting away. When I got 200, I could have kept going. But I was running out of room with the camera. And really, who gives a shit, right? It doesn't matter. But you find different ways to challenge yourself. That is critical, and that applies to everybody. Some people get tired of doing the same cardio all the time. Some people just prefer to stick to the treadmill or the bike, or like me, the elliptical, because I find the elliptical is the easiest on my now older and a little bit more brittle joints. Doesn't bother me. Doesn't hurt my hips, bursitis of the left hip. I have a left Achilles tendon injury that doesn't heal. Doesn't bother any of those things. Whereas running, treadmill, out. Stationary bike, no chance. Can't sit in a bike. Bursitis, go like that. No, not going to do it. You find what works for you and you go for it. And certainly diet is a part of it. I take pre-workout. I should point out, this is another issue that is a bit of a thorny issue with certain people. I usually drink a little bit. I have a coffee. I make it the night before. I put it in the fridge, and I don't use Red Bulls or Monsters and the kind of high quality Metrix products that I used to get at Bev's. I take in about half the caffeine that I used to before COVID. That's just the way that it worked out. It wasn't like a master plan. Oh, well, now we cook. No. But the drinks that I used to have at Bev's were, I believe, 300 milligrams of caffeine apiece. And I used to sip 3 of them over a period of hours. I wasn't downing 900 milligrams in one shot. Otherwise, I'd be on the ceiling. But I use pre-workout. I believe in it. I have a coffee. I use a Keurig. And then I usually have 2 quart containers, just a little, not scratch off, but the little drink packets. 4C makes caffeinated drink packets that have 130 milligrams per packet. So I'm probably all told at around 400 milligrams, which, as I say, is half or less than half of what I used to. But that does help. It does get me in the mindset, because I may be staggering my way to the clubhouse in the morning. But once I get a little bit of an infusion of caffeine, my heart rate gets elevated. I start moving and grooving, and then suddenly the energy is there. And that's it. You never know what's going to get you to do your workout. So if you have the time, it's okay to stay in bed a little bit longer. No one's judging you. But it helped me to think about what I was going to feel like if I didn't do what I set out to do, my original plan for the workout on the day. If that fear of how you're going to feel, that you're going to be disappointed in yourself or angry with yourself, if you can use that for motivation, do it. Anything, whatever it takes, whatever you have to do to get that workout in. And you know what? Maybe tomorrow you'll feel like crushing it, and the next day. You never know when you're going to have a run of workouts where everything is gravy, where you're working hard, but you're having fun. And you're looking forward to getting to the gym in the morning. It's not drudgery. Getting there at 4 a.m. wasn't easy. But there were a lot of days I was elated to be there. And people who remember me from those years, like from the 2019, even 2017, 2018, people who knew me in the foyer, this guy's always ready to go, jumps right on that cardio machine. He doesn't even stretch. He's cranking it at level 25 right away. It's just what I wanted to do. And luckily, I was able to find the proper mindset to repeat that. So that's the thing. You could do great one day. You got to repeat it. So whatever it takes to be able to repeat the day again and again. And we're so blessed if we have the kind of body that will bounce back from even the most brutal deadlift or squat or 500 rep, leg press workouts, whatever it is. We have the capacity to bounce back, come back hungry for more the next day. It's about as good as it gets. Now, as I say, I'm very, very close to a big birthday, and I'm still excited for almost every workout. I'm still out there grinding away and trying to achieve. Also, if on this channel, and I'm speaking to people who enjoy my YouTube channel, if you'd like to see me post some workout videos, even as shorts, hit me up in the comments. Let me know. I'm not going to do that if there's no a call for it. So by all means, let me know if you'd like to see some of the sort of wacky high rep sets that I do and have done and have recorded. And with that, we've come to the conclusion of episode 30 of the Confessions of a Not So Dangerous Mind podcast. I want to thank you once again very, very much for joining me tonight. If you're going to watch the YouTube version of the podcast, as always, don't forget to click like and smash the subscriber bell. Or if you're going to be listening to the audio version of the podcast on Spotify, iTunes, or the other audio platforms. I'll see you again real soon for episode 31. Yours in health.